Today we're going over the basics of the common onion. Here I have a red and a brown onion. Red onions are known to be sweeter and more mild than brown onions, hence why they're great eaten raw, and that's what makes them great for pickling. Brown onions on the other hand are versatile and can be used for all kinds of cooking due to their strong oniony flavour. First though, we're going to have a look at the types of knives we can use for chopping onions safely. First I have my gyuto. This is basically a Japanese chef knife, a basic chef knife. It's got a thin blade, it's good for veggies, good for chopping. I'll be using this knife for dicing. Here I got this Santoku knife. This is a wide blade and it's perfect for prep work as it allows for easy scooping. Next I have my petty knife. This is more of a smaller blade. I have a lot of control and the blade is a perfect size for slicing onions. The same can be said for the paring knife, but it is a bit smaller, but I know a lot of people use this, like my own mother. Hence why I'm showing you all these different kinds of knives. All knives can be used for chopping onions, so you don't have to worry about it. It's just how you hold them, how you position your fingers, and how you can be safe. First, let's go over the red onion. I'm going to chop off the stem and then cut it in half. We're going to keep the root intact so we can avoid tears. Next, I'm going to de-skin by taking off the outer layer of the onion so we can completely get rid of it. So with this first off, I'm going to show you how we can cut against the grain. This is horizontal to the roof, so it's going to be like parallel in a sense. First, we're going to slice as thinly as possible, making sure we're not going to take our fingers off, so we're going to use a claw-like position. Because we're cutting it against the grain, we're going to have a stronger flavour because we've ruptured more onion cells and a softer texture. With the other half, we're going to chop along the grain and cut with it. So we're going to chop off the root, and I don't usually use my paring knife, and it was a bit blunt, so we've got to be careful with that. Now I'm just cutting along it and along it and along it, being careful not to take off my fingers, okay? So chopping along with the grain allows for firmer pieces of onion with a much more mild flavour, so you're not getting as strong a flavour. Slicing is by far the most easy way of chopping an onion. It doesn't require much technical skill and it's just chopping. Dicing is a bit harder, but I'll show you how we do that in a short while. Some things we can use for slicing. Even though some recipes might call for diced onions, you can also use sliced. It just depends on what kind you like. I personally do sliced because it saves a lot of time. So if you like sliced, use sliced. And remember, the onions also will break up easily if you're cooking them right. So now we'll go on to the brown onion. See, we're gonna do the same thing we did with the red onion. We're gonna chop off the stem, cut it in half, and de-skin it. I'll show you how to dice and roughly chop this onion. That's what we're gonna use here. So for dicing, I'm going to use my largest knife and I'm just going to make cuts along the grain, not going all the way up to the root. Now some videos will have you carefully insert the knife into the middle of the onion. However, I don't do this. It's finicky, not necessary, and you could cut yourself if you're not really experienced and you might be using a sharp knife. You might not really want to risk it. Instead, I just hold the onion tightly in my claw position and I chop it fairly thin. I'm going to get similar slices from top to bottom, and then as I get to the bottom I'm going to flip it and I'm going to start chopping it more. I might not have the most even slices, but remember we're only cooking for our family and that is all we need to do. We're not in a fancy restaurant, so we're fine. But as you can see, some of them do look like long strings, but literally run them between your fingers, they're going to break apart. They'll break apart when you're cooking them. Let's say you're cooking them in a pan, when you're sauteing they'll break apart. It's fine. Next is the rough chop. Now this is the far most easiest to chop. I'm going to chop off the stem, I'm going to chop it in half, and then I'm going to chop them halves of the half in half, see? So I've basically quartered the onion on this side. Rough chop onions are used for stocks, gravies, roasting. They just allow for you to extract the flavour without having to do a whole bunch of work. This differs from diced, okay, because diced onions can be put in sauces, and if you dice them really small, they will literally melt into the sauce. So guys, I've shown you how to chop onions 4 ways. The sliced are basically the same, but it's important to know what you're getting when you cut in the different ways against the grain. So guys, that's how you chop an onion. Sayonara. Also hit that subscribe button.